And welcome back to another episode of Authentically Divine. I'm your host, Alyssa Davis, and this week's featured product of the week is going to be Nectar. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. I'm sure you haven't, because everyone else uses the LMNT or those other hydration packs. I don't even know the names of them. But all of them are like super high in sugar. Not the Element one, but this one is the best. Nectar. I've been using them for years now. I have the variety pack. This one comes with fresh lemon, sunrise orange, wild berry, watermelon, strawberry lemonade, and my favorite cherry pomegranate. I like these hydration packs because it is made out of organic ingredients as much as possible. The fruit is organic. It actually tastes like fruit. It doesn't taste like the fake stuff. And there's nothing worse to me than like the fake strawberries taste. It never actually tastes like strawberry, so I just want to mention for this one they actually use organic strawberry, organic lemons, organic cherry. It also has organic stevia as the sweetener, and stevia really isn't bad for you whatsoever. It's the most natural, and the best actually is organic stevia leaf. If you can take it up another notch, that would be the better option. But I use these hydration packs every other day at this point. You're supposed to use them because they have a lot of magnesium, calcium, potassium, and especially for someone like me that is active, having electrolytes, which I don't know if he even mentioned that these are electrolytes, but these are electrolytes, and they're 0 calories if you're really concerned about the caloric intake. But I have used these for years, and I actually have them on subscription with Amazon, and I know I don't want to be supporting Amazon, but honestly, this is something I would prefer to buy on Amazon versus anything else. And I just used my last one in my glass water bottle that I featured on one of my other episodes. So, cheers. And one of my boyfriend's aunts actually complimented me yesterday because she's like, "You're always drinking water. It's so good for you." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a little crazy, with making sure I'm doing all the things." And she was like, "No, it's good. It's good for you." So, a little life update. We're in the midst of summer. Now, these are not going to be coming out in summer when I'm recording them because I am batch recording all of these for, life has been really crazy lately. I've been in and out of the house and still working my full-time job. So these episodes are just going to be put out into the world when I have the moment. So I am batch recording because I don't have the luxury right now of having this be my full-time or my job. But that's the hopes for the future, is where I'd be able to just sit down and have a couch chat every day and have these be something that comes out weekly, and I don't have to edit them months in advance and sit and wait to tell all the great news of everything that's going on in my life. But it was just my birthday. We're in the middle of July right now for myself. It was just my birthday. I just turned 27, and I was very low key this year. I didn't want to be even on my phone because it was just a little overwhelming. This will be the first year that I'm not involving drinking into my life. So I just avoided being anywhere out doing anything other than just sitting and relaxing with family, enjoying the sun. And that was just really nice. I was calm, and my boyfriend got me an egg chair. But this has been something extremely heavy, and it really is for a lot of people. Forgiveness, the power of the tongue, which I'll explain further, and just anger in itself. All of these things can shackle you down to being a person that you don't want to be. So I want to talk about, like I always do, I'll go into my experiences with forgiveness, anger, understanding the power of the tongue. And then I want to go into, I will give a faith-based answer. And I think I'm going to start the precedent with, I will always provide a faith-based answer alongside just a human being, separate from faith, so that I can speak to everyone. And I'm not going to dismiss the faith-based answer ever, because that is a piece of who I am, and this is how I've been able to progress so much. So I encourage everyone to step into their own faith too, because I owe it to God. I owe it to Jesus for cleansing my heart and changing every piece of myself to being able to speak so proudly that I can forgive, that I know that I have strength in the words that I say, power of the tongue, and being able to just move on and do better for myself and for others. Because every piece that you do within yourself that joins together, like every piece of the puzzle that makes sense for you, then your internal world starts to change your external world, and you treat others totally differently than the way that you used to, because you're treating yourself differently. So I want to encourage everyone that's listening that just take it with ease, no rush on anything, but this is my experience, and I'll start with forgiveness. So let's dive in here. Obviously, it's not easy to forgive, but a couple of years ago, I realized that, I would sit in those days when I would be smoking late at night, just processing my thoughts, being alone, kind of going through life, just trying to get to understand my mind. And, not proud that I would be smoking to get to this result, but honestly, it was a crutch at that time to now I don't need that to be able to tap into my own mental capacity. I don't need to tap into marijuana to have an understanding of the way that my mind works. So again, I'm reverting back to all these other things, but each piece of the story is combined with every other thing that I've gone through. So I'll insert the clip, but I had taken a video I posted on TikTok, because I would go on TikTok and just express myself every now and again by speaking. I realized that making amends and righting your wrongs and actually understanding when you were wrong and being able to acknowledge that you were wrong is one of the strongest qualities that someone can possess. It is so powerful, because when you understand that you were wrong about something, you're allowing your self-awareness to be understanding of the fact that you make mistakes, because you're human. But if you're a good person and you do the best you can, and you sometimes make mistakes, but realize that you make mistakes, it comes from a place of self-acceptance, because you're not always going to be right. Acknowledging the fact that you may not always be right, or honestly forgiving yourself in those moments, is the first step. And then acknowledging it to someone else is the next. First, you have to recognize in yourself that you have made a mistake. You have to be accepting of the fact that you're learning and you're making mistakes. Then you have to confront the person that you made a mistake with or to. Those are like self-healing types of qualities to have in a person. If you're looking for good people in your life, those types of people should be in your circle. When you are to forgive someone, it's not about them winning. It's about you being released from any tension, breaking the cord, breaking whatever it is, breaking the chains, breaking the cord, whatever animosity, that holds weight. When you learn to forgive, it's like you just have freedom. And that's what I had mentioned. I was like being able to forgive, especially yourself, is the hardest thing. Forgiveness is something that is a daily tackle. You have to be able to forgive. And the reason being is everyone's going through something in their life. If someone doesn't have a good handle on their own emotions, the things that they say, the things that they do could easily hurt you, and you have to realize it has nothing to do with you. It is their internal world being reflected back onto you, because that's just the way that humans are. So I'm not saying that you are to go through life and just completely allow people to hurt you, but also understand that if someone is hurting you, it's your job to learn to forgive. I get it. Forgiveness is hard, but what I wanted to just emphasize here is that, let's put this in perspective here. You go through something and then years down the line, you're like, I wish I knew what I knew now. I would never have acted that way. Or I wish I had been equipped with the tools that I have now. I would have handled things so differently. So if someone hurts you, don't you think that they are saying the same things to themselves? I wish I knew what I knew then. I would have acted differently. It's the same thing for you. You have to be able to look at them as, they don't know any better. If they're hurting you, they don't know any better. It's the same thing as all the times in your life that you made a mistake and you said you wish that you knew better at the time that this happened. You would have handled it differently. You wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have done that. I would have done this had I known. Had you known how to handle things that way, you wouldn't have been going through that lesson. So I think that you have to think of forgiveness as pulling yourself away from seeing the person as the one that's hurting you. It's that they don't know any better. Let's say someone made a rude comment to you. If you were to hold on to that, do you know what it would do to you? Every day of your life, you would be harboring that hurt and that pain and that hatred towards that person for making one comment. And there's people in this world that do that. And you can categorize them. You are seeing that they are a complainer, they are a harborer. They never let things go. They're upset. Small things cause big reactions. And this is no judgment. I was one of these people. At one point in my life, if someone did something to me, I would explode. These types of people just don't know any better. My encouragement to you is to forgive as much as you can, because when you realize it has nothing to do with you, you start to realize that the only one that matters is how you feel. And if you can't forgive, you are only making yourself feel worse. You're only causing stress and anxiety and problems in your own life rather than being able to just release it. And this is just the forgiveness part. I'm not even talking about setting boundaries further if these people are in your lives for the after effects. This is just the forgiveness part. I forgive people as quickly as it happens because they don't know any better. Am I tolerating that for next time? Absolutely not. You're being categorized and I'm putting you in this box and I'm stepping back. I'm going to act accordingly, but who am I to tell someone that they're right or wrong? And I have to keep putting them in, there's no way you're ever going to make up for that. I used to say these things. Do you see how easy it rolled off my tongue? It's because I used to live in that world. No one could do any right by me unless they were doing exactly what I wanted. And that's a form of trying to be safe. People don't know who you are. People don't act in the manner of you at all times. They're living their own lives. Which means that as soon as it passes or as soon as it's in front of you, let it pass. Don't hold on to it. If you hold on to it, you harbor it, and that weight will eventually sink you. Because you're not letting it float back up to the top. You're holding it and you're sinking and you're sinking. And everything else in the world that comes at you, you start to grab and you hold on to it. And sooner than later, you're going to realize that you're depressed, you're anxious, you're lonely, you're miserable, you're mad at the world. Forgiveness has the capacity to release that tension, to toss everything out of your hands, to put it up, have it all float to the top, and it's gone out of your hands, and you can go back to breathing fresh air. It truly makes a difference if you can see it and separate yourself from that emotion and just, you know what, they did that. Okay, I'm going to forgive them right now. Doesn't mean that I'm going to let them back in the same way. But if I don't forgive them, it's me that suffers. It's I that has to go through the pain of that. It starts to take a toll not only on your mental health, but your physical health. Everything coincides. You start to become unhealthy. Like I said, when you see someone like how I used to be, reactive, small things, you can never make them happy, they never forgive you, but you see it because they cannot let things go. They hurt harder than anyone else. They are angrier than anyone else, and they are upset more than anyone else because they haven't been able to forgive. When I say forgiveness is the strongest quality that someone can have, I truly mean it. Forgiveness is the strength that everyone should be able to tap into. Forgiveness. You know, if you see a celebrity saying something that frustrates you, or if you see something on the news that annoys you, and you're harboring it, it's the same thing. Forgive them for not knowing any better. And this is talking about external forgiveness. How about forgiveness for yourself? That's even more in depth. But I'm thinking that it's that you start to learn to forgive yourself, and that it's easier to learn how to forgive others. But I think that anyone can learn how to forgive, and what comes first doesn't matter. But I truly believe that forgiveness of yourself sets you even further free. You start to have wings when you forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made. I wish I knew what I know now, and I would act differently. I would have acted accordingly. I would have extended more grace. I would have walked away. I'm sure you've said these things. I would have never texted back. I would have never went and liked his picture. I would have never went and commented something mean. I wouldn't have blocked him or her. I wouldn't have said such a mean thing. If I knew better than to get involved, if I knew better than to put myself in that situation. You've said those things. I've said those things. And now I'm in a place in my life where I say that less and less because I know how to hold the power of my tongue. And that's going to be the next segment. But I also really wanted to deep dive into the faith-based answer here. For forgiveness, the power of the tongue, like I just mentioned, but for forgiveness, Jesus died on the cross for our sins to completely forgive us of every single thing, no matter what level. If you come to Christ, He forgave you. You are washed. You are made brand new. Okay, so especially if you are a Christian, you should not be holding such a high amount of disregard for Jesus. Because if you don't forgive others, you're saying that you are better than Jesus. You condemn more than Jesus. We are not, as true Christians, supposed to condemn anyone. Because Jesus died on the cross for us. Are you better than Jesus? Are you greater than Jesus? No. Us as Christians need to take the word of God and use it in our day-to-day life. We need to forgive. We are God's people the same way that Jesus is God's people. He washed everyone's sins away. When you come to Christ, you are washed. If Jesus can forgive even you, you should be able to forgive your neighbor. You should be able to forgive your sister. You should be able to forgive your father. You should be able to forgive in every single way. So that was the big faith-based answer. But another thing I wanted to talk about too was, for my personal life, like my parents got divorced in high school. My mom and I had a stronger relationship at the time. My dad and I didn't. So I held this unforgiveness. I held him in a certain way, and it took so long because I learned even before, and this is how I know God was speaking through me. It's like I didn't come to these conclusions on my own. God was working through me, but I learned to soften my heart, and I forgave my dad. There was a lot of pain, there was a lot of struggle. Divorce is hard for any child, and we have the strongest relationship now and continue to build it. We do fun activities together. He knows my heart. He knows everything about my life. But we didn't talk for a couple of years. And imagine that. Imagine now the power of forgiveness. Now I have someone in my life that I look to tell my stories to tell my life. I told him about doing the podcast, and he's so excited for me. He listens to podcasts, he watches podcasts. It's like he's waiting for me to drop these because he's excited. And to think that at one point in time, because I didn't know forgiveness, my heart was closed and I wasn't open to forgiveness or love. Forgiveness is all about creating a space for love. That's the true essence of it. So that's another thing here is like I've dealt with the hard stuff, especially family. Family, it's tough. Especially when you live with someone that is of family, it's tough. But if you can find a way to just forgive and lighten the load on your heart, you will have more happiness, more joy, and you won't harp or focus on that as much because it's not worth your time. My compass, like I said, was always my heart, my intuition. This is me leading you to a better way of life if you just give yourself some grace. The first time you have to forgive someone quickly as it comes, try. Sit with yourself if you have to separate, but don't feed into the anger. Don't feed into the hatred. Don't feed into the pain. Recognize within yourself that if you give it to God, it'll all be taken care of. And that was something that I have been truly learning. And that's why I know, because I can speak to you and I can tell you. And yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm a human being. God made us and we are human beings. We make mistakes. We're not God. So just recognize that each time you make small changes in your response or the way you act or the way you even think, your heart is being changed every single time. But your heart has to go through the trials and tribulations to be able to know what to do next and to make those massive changes. Because listen to this. You're talking to someone that literally, like I mentioned before, if someone did me wrong, you were cut off, blocked, so angry and full of hatred. And it's not worth it. It's truly so life-changing. And it doesn't happen from anger, hatred to complete release of your heart and you're full of love and able to forgive. You have to go through the small changes to make that effective. So be patient with yourself while you make these changes, especially if this is something you really want to do. Forgiveness is a tough one, but also it grows your heart. You grow a space where if a comment happens in front of you about who you are, your character, that's someone's opinion of you. It means absolutely nothing. Forgive them, for they don't know any better. Forgive all the evil in the world, for these people do not know any better. It also takes a strong person to just acknowledge that you don't have control over everything, and you can't control another person's tongue. You can only control your own. So this leads us into our next aspect here, the power of the tongue. And the power of the tongue, and I say it in that way, is based in the Bible. They say the power of the tongue. So if, let's just say, if you don't have faith and you're just listening to this, your anger, the way that you express yourself, everything internal comes out on your mouth, on your tongue. The things you say, the things you speak, everything comes out on the tongue. So in the Bible, there are a bunch of references to how the tongue can become a serpent. So I'm going to talk about where this has led me in understanding this. But it fell onto my heart to stop swearing. I used to be a trucker mouth. You can ask anyone. I use the F word as a way to describe something. And it just, I have conviction on it now. I don't want to swear. So even in my mind, I tend to, let's just say I'm at a 90% change. And that's huge for someone that would swear every other word or at least 5 times in one sentence. Like, I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm not going to say that that's the fault of where this happened, but literally, I'm from a smaller city outside of Buffalo, and that was the language we all used with one another. So it takes separating yourself from it to understand. But yeah, I have conviction on the way that everything that I say, the things I speak, they either give life or they give death. And what I mean by that is there is so much power in the things that you say. And I've always been one to encourage others and to be positive. So it literally didn't make sense, the reasons for my swearing. When I'm being positive and being happy, it's like, but then I'm swearing and using foul language, and that just negates everything. So I want to just focus on the power of the tongue. Speaking of which, I am thirsty because I just keep talking. Since I've stopped swearing in my day-to-day language, not only have I become more sensitive to hearing swearing, which is, first of all, if you're hearing that for the first time and you have no idea what I'm talking about, when you stop doing anything, you become more sensitive to your surroundings. You become more sensitive to that habit that you used to have. When I hear it now, because I'm not describing things with foul language, I'm just describing them as they are, quite literally and figuratively. But when I'm listening to swearing, whether that is on someone's a stream or on Facebook, if I see it, or if you are having a conversation with someone or you're listening to music, it literally feels like it's penetrating my happy little bubble. Because I feel the weight of that type of language. It actually has so much negativity to it, and you don't know it until you remove it from your life. But it is something that actually has depth and weight. Sound more professional in my day-to-day, and not like I was swearing at work, but the capacity to have an extensive language be used outside of swearing and foul language, you just end up with a lot more stance and a lot more like people see you for who you are. Something that came up the other day was, if you are someone that says hurtful things when you're angry, much like myself, this is something I really want to just emphasize. If you're a happy-go-lucky, happy, positive person like I always had claimed to be, but then at a time of rage or a time of anger, I would take it out and be mean to everyone, it negates everything positive that you had done prior to that point. Whether it be that you had spent the day with your family and you were so kind and just so loving, and then all of a sudden, one little thing or something happens and you're irritated and you start being rude, all of that happiness that happened in the day just completely washed away because the power of your tongue. The things that you say, the way you act, and I know rage is not just the power of the tongue and the things you say, but a lot of us, including myself, at one point in time, have used anger as an excuse to just pop off. And this is where there is so much weight, and the importance of this message is true because I have lived it. I was the one completely mean to everyone if I was upset about something. And looking back, I wish I knew what I knew now. Again, back to, hey, I've forgiven myself because I didn't know any better at the time. But now that I have conviction, I'm never going back and allowing that in my life where I speak to people with such anger when I'm upset and tearing them down. For what? If you need to walk away from a situation physically, mentally, whatever, if you're texting and you're upset, put it down, walk away, give yourself the grace. Because especially in the beginning of my relationship, with my current boyfriend, if we were having difficulty communicating where we felt angry about something and we weren't effective, we would say, okay, I need a few minutes to think. And now that part is even hard in the midst of frustration, but the sooner you do it, the better. The better it becomes a habit where you're like, can I just have a few minutes? Even now, if we're upset about something and maybe things get heated, I don't see what would, but say something was going on, if we need a few minutes to just gather our thoughts so we can treat each other with respect, we will do that. And you can have that with anyone, but there are people that will push you and push you and push you. Try your best to walk away if you need those few moments to become rational. If it takes you a few days, so be it. Be not professional, but respectful. If you can do that, that is strength right there. But the power of the tongue, like I said, has life or death to it. There are a lot of verses and a lot of chapters in the Bible that entail the power of the tongue, and I'm going to read a few. So we're at Psalms 140. David was praying for deliverance of evil men. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. So what is being mentioned here, especially because it's deliverance from evil men, when David is praying in Psalms 140 for deliverance from evil men, he's specifying they have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. There is poison under their lips. The things they say, the things they are having be put out into the world, it's poison. Their tongues are sharp. If you start to recognize when you're feeling angry or something along those lines where you are spewing things out, you feel like you have no control, your tongue is sharp. Your tongue has poison. You're spewing death and words that are just hurtful. Another one here in the Bible, Proverbs 15. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach of spirit. So I'm not great with the word perverse, so what I did was just look it up. So it's showing a deliberate and determined desire to behave in a way that most people think is wrong, unacceptable, and unreasonable. Perverseness is deliberate and stubborn unruliness and resistance to guidance or discipline. So a wholesome tongue where you're speaking life, where you're, like me, where I'm speaking all the positive things and I'm being kind. And then if I have a perverse tongue, where I'm stubborn, deliberately unruly, resistance to guidance or discipline, and I'm just being, I'm popping off, it's a breach of spirit. A breach, meaning it halts everything. It stops it from operating the way that it should, the way God made you. God wants you to have a wholesome tongue, tree of life, growing and being fruitful with your tongue, the things you say, the brightness and positivity you put in the world. When you are going against that and you are deliberately and unruly and unreasonable with your tongue, it literally dies off the life of the tree that could be. So I know that these things are going to take time, but this is something that it really is true. It really is true. I mean, think about it. Let's say you're talking to like a 3-year-old. If you're mean to them with your tongue, you can physically see the changes in their face. If you are kind to them, sweet, gentle, forgiving, the brightness and the purity of their life just continues to grow. And it's even crazy. Like, have you ever heard about the way you can talk to plants and they will grow? They are life. They hear the power of your tongue when you say positive and kind and sweet and loving things, even to plants, because they are life. They will grow. There have been studies of people talking negatively to a certain plant and positively to another, and guess which plant continues to thrive? It's the one being talked to, and the other one actually dies. Look it up. It's truly interesting. Or, even in the context of abused animals, it sticks with them because whatever hatred, anger, and I know it's not only verbal, of course, with abused dogs, and I truly wish that they never had to deal with anything. But my rescue baby, she was abused. You raise your tone a certain way when she was a puppy, and she shut down immediately. Meanwhile, I'm looking at her, and a couple of times she's hopped up here, but right now she is fast asleep on her bed with a blanket, her paw stretched out, and she is full of life and she's resting. And that's the true power of what you put out into the world. So we're not just talking about forgiveness. We're not just talking about power of the tongue. We are talking about your essence, what you bring to the table, who you are to the core. And if you are if you're feeling like I'm calling you out, I want to be that person. Because this is where I was able to make all of these changes. My boyfriend came in and had this quite honest essence to his life. He was so authentic and true and, steered me in the direction of the Bible and God. But he called me out. And it's not that I'm calling you out to put you down. And it was never his intention either. He was calling me to be the best version of myself, calling me to be higher. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm calling you to challenge yourself, to go the higher route, to be the bigger person. Because it doesn't only help you, it helps everyone around you. You think your light just is your light? It is immersed throughout every single person you interact with, every person you walk by. Everything that you produce is your fruit. And if you are using your tongue like a serpent with poison, do you really want to be friends with someone? Do you really want to be that person that has a heart that is so cold and mean and hurtful and hatred just lives within you and it spews out? No, you don't. I don't want that for you. God doesn't want that for you. Jesus will renew your spirit like he did for me. I guess if you would like to hear any other additional features about what's in the Bible too, Job chapter 34, verse 2, hear my words, O wise men, and give unto me, ye that have knowledge. For the ear trieth words, as the mouth tasteth meat. Let us choose to use judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. So again, this emphasizes the part here, in the Bible, there's even specifying we try words, what we hear is what we are embellishing ourselves in. Let us discern for ourselves what is right. For the ear tests words as the tongue tastes food. It is another sensory thing for us as humans to determine our environment, whether it's good or bad. So do you really want to be giving someone an environment that is bad with your words? It might be a little complex. I would like to know if anyone has questions on the things that I'm saying. But again, the verses that I'm saying are important to read for yourself as well. There's another one too. Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Guile is sly or cunning behavior, being dishonest. So keep your tongue from evil. Keep from being dishonest. Keep being fruitful with your tongue. Keep giving positivity and life to yourself and to those around you. And, forgiveness, the power of the tongue, giving life to everything. It's why I am so joyful every single day. It's because I am making these choices. And as I mentioned, it's not going to be something that you can just do in one act of the day. You need further examples, and you need to be able to prove to yourself that you can make these changes. But take the steps. I encourage you to take the steps to be the best version of yourself. Again, this is authentically divine. My hope for you is to continue to do great things. And remember, you can work on yourself and change. You are never stuck being the person that you were yesterday, a year ago, 10 years ago, not even 5 minutes ago. You can change everything. You just have to have faith, and you have to believe in yourself and give yourself grace. Please give yourself grace, because just as much as you should be forgiving others, just as much as you should be forgiving the past, you want to be able to forgive yourself, because that is where the lesson is truly learned. You are not going to be condemned for the things of your past. You can move forward. And just because people around you do not understand that you are a different person than who you were back then, does not invalidate who you are now. If no one has validated all of the changes that you've been making in your life, let me be the one to. I am proud of you. If even 5 seconds of this episode spoke to you and you listened, and maybe let's hope you wrote things down. But if you didn't, you can hit that replay button. I have faith in you. And even if I'm the only one, replay this. I have faith in you. You do not have to be the same person that you were yesterday. I know that there is the greatest version of yourself, and it is residing in you. You have to break the barriers that you've been holding for yourself, and maybe others have been holding against you. Break them. See the light. Be the light. And thank you so much. I love you. I love all of you. God is so good. And thank you for listening to another episode of Authentically Divine. I'm your host, Alyssa Davis, and I know everyone's going to have a great week.